Much, Karen. Please welcome to the stage now Julie Cole and her panel, who they'll be talking about social media and small biz, secret weapon or distraction.
A bit of both, right?
Are you on?
Would
you like me to turn you on?
I'll tell you what, that dress. Full dancing, it's full just. Is this on? Yeah. Okay, there we are. I'm gonna be all lonely over here with the. For the small business owner, it's often a one-person show. In our case, a one-woman show.
Okay.
And you wear many hats. You have to do the marketing. You have to do the taxes. You have to do the customer service. You have to do product development. You have to do it all. And that can be very confusing and very hard, balancing all those duties. Enter social media. We know it creates buzz. We love the relationships and connections that we make as a result. But with risk of not killing any unicorns, as our friend Scott would say, sometimes defining how much time should be allocated to that duty while balancing your other ones can be difficult. As a result, we put together a panel here of small business owners who will be telling us about their social media experiences, lessons they've learned along the way, and perhaps how they strike that balance. So, let me introduce our panel. I'm Julie from Mabel's Labels, and here we have Alex Durrell, rhymes with squirrel, and she's from @Clippo. And let me tell you about her. So she's founder of Clippo, which is a cool accessories company that focuses on clips. In fact, this lanyard is a Clippo one. She also is the founder of So Connected, which is a social media company that reaches out to other companies, helping them connect with their online audience. And then we've got our friend Stephanie Tanner, who is local here in the Waterloo region, and she has a company called the Little Mushroom Catering Company, and her handle is Catering Fungi, and remarkably, she doesn't like mushrooms. Right, Mummy? Something in common. So she likes fun guys. Okay, nice. She's been in business for a year and has no other marketing plan other than using social media. So this is it'll be interesting to hear about that. And then we've got Debbie from Wee Piggies and Paws, and her handle is Wee Piggies Debbie with just an I. And she's been around for 10 years, and she has a company that captures unique way of framing children's footprints and handprints. And she has 58 franchisees and affiliates all over the world. So, welcome panel.
Thanks. Thank you.
Now, if I said, can you see us?
Julie, I feel like I'm on the dating game.
It does feel a bit that way when you hear you guys over there. I thought I would start maybe with Clippo, because Alex once said to me that social media has changed her life in every way possible and in every facet. And I would love for you to talk about how that, particularly with your business, social media has affected your business, and maybe how it's changed over the years.
Sure. Well, I started Clippo about 5 years ago now, and it was like a lot of companies that, you know, moms start at home. I was on mat leave with my daughter. Higher. Good. Can everybody hear me? And I did a craft. I made some hair clips because I was honestly too cheap to buy them. I can't tell anybody that I invented it. I can't tell anybody that it was a genius idea and I couldn't find anything on the market. I took an idea and made it my own. And the girls on a web community that I was a member of were pivotal in making that company a success, in the beginning especially. I said, I made these for my daughter's story, and aren't they cute? And they said, I want those for my daughter, Jenny. And then my girlfriend wants those for her daughter too. And they took it to school with them. And then somebody said, I was shopping in my favorite store, and I showed them your clips, and they want to have those too. And so it was from this community where I had built friendships, and a lot of the girls I had never met in my life. They were just these people, random moms and girls across Canada who took my company and appreciated the relationship that I had with them and threw it out there across the country. And within about 3 months, I wasn't working. I had taken this little tiny craft, and all of a sudden we had 50 stores across Canada that were asking to stock the product line. And so it kind of blew me away that a lot of these people who were virtual strangers and I had considered friends on the internet, took a company and made it a success for me. And when we took that, and I built relationships on Twitter, and at first it was a totally different environment than I think I didn't really realize how to build those relationships. but my sales tripled by being in a different community, and it just sort of blew me away that the people that I've built these relationships with online, and a lot of times I don't meet them until I come to events like this, know my company and took it and made it a success so that I can have a successful business and I get to stay home with my kids and do the fun things that I want to do because of an online only relationship with these people.
Yeah, we often talk about the conflict when you have a small business between your the voice of your business and your own personal voice. And I know everybody on the panel has had some experience with that and that struggle, and I've had it too. Now, I thought maybe, Debbie, you could talk a little bit about, I mean, when you're speaking for your brand and then you're also speaking for yourself, you do have that conflict. You have to find that balance, and you have to remember that you have customers who are online, and at the end of the day, you want your customers to be happy with you and you want them to buy your product, but at the same time you need to hold on to your true authentic voice. So that can be a struggle. I'm actually fascinated with Debbie in this whole franchise thing, because what I would find a huge struggle would be all these people out there talking about my brand, and what is their right? They are franchisees, so they should have a voice to the brand, but what if it's not consistent with mine? What if they go wildly off brand and I end up looking like an idiot or feeling unhappy about where this is going? So Debbie, how do you manage all those franchisees and their voices with your voice, and how that fits in with your brand?
Oh, it's a good question, Julie. We have implemented recently a really strong Facebook plan. So what we do is we have a Facebook page that we implement, and they have to do all of our graphics, our banners, and everything. The branding has to be the same with everybody. Closer? Okay. The branding has to be the same across the country. So if you go on Vancouver or you go on Nova Scotia, it's exactly the same brand. However, I do believe that customers will only buy from you if they know, like, and trust you. So our franchisees also have to have a voice of their own. So we let them, you know, connect with their customers and do contests. And there's all kinds of ways through Facebook that they're able to do that. So we will encourage them to put their personality into it. But it is a struggle keeping that brand as well as getting their individual personalities, but it works really well.
For sure, and I mean, I think that is something that's just one of those risks every day that you just don't know. What if somebody says something that makes me, you know, and then you go into damage control, and yeah, that is the risk of having many voices. I know at Mabel's we really encourage all of our employees to tweet and to have an online presence, and we're really happy about that. But at the same time, if they're going to tweet about Mabel's, then they have to be consistent with our core values in their tweets, and that if they don't want to tweet about Mabel's, they can just go off and tweet their own thing, and that's a little bit of a way that we try to manage it. The whole thing with personal opinions, I know that Alex has had some interesting issues, experiences, lessons
I don't have any
learned.
personal opinions that I share ever. I don't ever share anything personal.
Yeah, she's very
online.
closed.
At Clippo, no personal opinions.
No. So maybe you can share some of the things you've learned about how much information as a business owner you should share online, and you know.
I think I personally cross the line a lot, pretty much daily I cross the line. The benefit to me is that I own my own company, so if something bad happens, I get to pay for that all on my own, which sometimes it does, and sometimes I do offend people, and it's never my intention. So I've been involved in different kinds of social media for about 10 years. I had a blog that was very popular, and I learned very quickly that in that community where it was very successful, what it was like to build an authentic personality as opposed to just a personality. So that when I do show up at an event and somebody says to me, "You're exactly the person I thought you would be," I really try to reflect that, and I try to give an authentic voice, especially because I have such a small company. Because when you're when you're sharing a personal opinion, it's there is a fine line. I could say something about a food that I don't agree with, or a product that I don't agree with for, you know, washing my kid's hair, and somebody's offended. So I know that I crossed the line, and I'm very open to apologizing when I have done so. And I also think that it makes you take a step back and sort of choose the hot topics, and really there are certain things that I don't discuss, and you have to draw that line somewhere. So it can be personal, and people, I personally discuss my family and my children, and I mean, they're too young to make a decision for themselves. My husband is fine with me talking about him. He's active on Twitter as well. But there are things that I won't discuss. We don't discuss our you know, some of the personal values that we have, or opinions regarding, we don't generally talk about politics and religion and those kinds of things. I find them hot button topics, and those aren't things that I'll put out there. So, and I've had many a DM where I'm getting smacked around in behind the scenes for expressing opinions, and there are some that I'll stand up for, and others that I wouldn't. I don't really know how I would handle having other people tweeting for my brand. I don't think I could handle it. It's a control freak thing. It would just scare me that somebody would come out there and say just something that I found outrageously offensive, and I would just shrivel and die.
We only have a couple of our girls that are on Twitter and ask me next year or in 6 months what happens. But so far we're big on Facebook. I mean, Facebook works for us and they can connect with their customer. So I don't really see how the franchisees can help their business being on Twitter at this point. But I think Steph talks a lot about that. So she's going to try to convince me. But that is always a concern of mine. That's a huge concern.
Yeah, I like to keep that control.
Yeah, I do feel like, for me in a lot of ways, I have kept my personality there without hitting really tough stuff. I think people sort of know how I feel about topics, but I leave the really tough stuff to Annie.
Exactly.
Sorry,
yeah.
PhD in parenting. You can do the tough stuff. I got to sell the labels, right? But it's interesting when we talk, like for our businesses which are online, we do have a wide reach. And for Stephanie, she has a local company. She's a local catering company. And many people would argue that, say, for Mabel's, because we're an online company, we could have customers all over the world. It's worth engaging with somebody in North Carolina, A, because it's fun, and B, because I might sell them some labels eventually. But that's not the case for Stephanie. So some might argue that the local or regional businesses don't get as much value out of Twitter or any social media for that matter. And I wonder, Stephanie, how you feel about that. How has being a local business, how do you find you're the same or different to sort of wider ranging businesses that have a wider audience?
Sure. I find that most of the people who I follow tend to be local, and I do that thing where I go on people like some people in this room that I will poach their KW Awesome lists and start following people who I didn't know were on Twitter, but I now know that they're local, and then hope that they follow me in return. But it's, I would say the majority of the people who follow me are local. There's a huge Twitter presence here in Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge.
Yeah, we've noticed.
Yeah.
So do you follow people by their geographic area?
I do. I tend to follow a lot more local people. There's a couple celebrities I follow, like Rick Mercer, who I'm going to see a taping of his show on Friday. But yeah, there's a couple celebrities. A lot of people throughout Ontario who I've met at different events. I started, there are people like a lot of you here today who come to events here in KW. Thank you very much for making the trek. And we'll follow them. But they know other people who are in KW, and then there's still that referral of business that way. So
it's that whole social media brings word of mouth online.
Yeah.
Right. It's a vehicle for that. Now your business is only a year old, so this whole social media piece is fairly new to you, as is running a business and all the other fun stuff that goes along with that. I'm interested. I want Debbie to comment. I met Debbie probably 7 or 8 years ago. It was like the first Mom Entrepreneur of the Year award through Savvy Mom.
Yeah, it was the first. It was probably maybe 8 years ago. We think.
2007, a long time ago. Anyways, interestingly, I was feeling like, where did that Debbie go? Where is she? And because she seemed to have disappeared after that. And then Facebook was out and Twitter was out, and I never saw Debbie. And then finally, it seemed like fairly recently, up pops Wee Piggy's Debbie. I'm like, there she is. So Debbie, I'm fascinated. Why so late to the party? And what was it that made you go, aha!
What a party,
what
what a party.
everybody else is figuring out. What made you finally drink the Kool-Aid?
Well put, Julie. Yeah, what a great community. This has been fabulous. What happened was I started my business 10 years ago, and social media, we didn't have the tools that we have now, but I did all the same fundamentals. So we grew our franchise, or I grew our franchise, based on connecting with people and the exact same principles, but we did not have the tools. So it wasn't until I read a book by Scott Stratton, and it was kind of my aha moment when I went, oh my gosh, all these strategies that I've used for the past 10 years, and they work so well. We've actually, in the 10 years, not paid a dime for advertising, and we're the first couple years one of the fastest growing franchises in Canada. And it worked out really well. So I suddenly went, okay, my franchisees should be using social media. So what we did was, well, actually my BS era, I call it BS era, it's before Scott era. Before I know what I
Oh,
was
he's going to
doing-
have he's not, his head's not going to fit through this door. Don't retweet that, anyone.
Scott, did you hear that? So during that first era, I kind of sent all of my girls a message, and I said, you guys should be on Facebook. So what happened was they went, okay, so they did their own thing, and I didn't really have the direction to give them. So it was really disastrous. Some people picked it up, and they did really well. And then some people actually got an email from one of our girls, and if you can imagine, we have a tight community. So one email sent to 58 girls, and she said, I'm literally on the floor crying because I can't figure out Facebook. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So that aha moment happened, Scott Stratton happened, and everything kind of came together for me. And I went, absolutely, we need to be in social media. All my franchisees need to be on Facebook. So that's when we implemented the whole plan. I got involved in Twitter. I saw Julie probably, 2 weeks ago, and she goes, where have you been? I've been back at home running the business, but now I'm trying, it's working really well. So each of our franchisees have Facebook pages. We encourage them to go on. It's actually written in our franchise agreement, and we have 3 pages of social media right in our contract that they have to participate in.
Have they put any pressure on you? Do you feel any demands on you from the franchisees about social media? Like, have they been like, dude, where are we? Like, or not so much?
They love the direction. I mean, because now they have all this direction, all the people that were lost, they love it. I get emails every day saying, Debbie, this is fabulous, thank you. Because what we've done is I have a team of people who know what they're doing. So we do all the graphics, we do the back end stuff, and they make me admins for their pages. So we have 58 people that essentially have the same page, the same branding, and then we still let them have a voice, and they still connect with the customers. So they're loving it. Now, mind you, we still have a couple of franchisees who they don't believe in Facebook, so they still give me a hard time, and they say, we don't let my daughter on it, I'm not going to go on it for business. But you know what, they're learning through the other franchisees that it costs next to nothing. You guys know that. It's more effective, and it's giving them more time to be at home with their kids, because that's what our franchisees do. They work at home. So it's winning. So it's really doing really well for them.
Okay, let's talk for a minute. I'm not sure how our time's going. A few minutes about balance. Alex and I were having a little laugh before we came out here because we were sharing how many tweets we've both done. And she tweets a lot. And Cocktail Diva maybe was in a tie with her. I'm at like 7,000. She's at 60,000. So, yeah. I mean, it is that balance of, now, how do you deal with your social media and also get your taxes filed in time? Do you want to talk a bit about that, Alex? And then maybe we can hear from Steph as well.
Do you closet tweet?
It's
from your family? Do you closet tweet?
No, I don't
from
have
your
to
family?
closet tweet. My husband's addicted. It doesn't matter. In fact, when my kids get up, here's a hot button you can tweet about. We co-sleep. So when my children get out of bed, we're there too. And they bring my BlackBerry, which is...
Who needs coffee?
Indicates something. They come to my husband with his glasses, and my son says eyes, and puts his glasses on his face, brings him his watch, and brings me a BlackBerry. So yes, I carry a BlackBerry. I tweet a lot. I tweet personal things. I tweet business things. And there's definitely a problem. Like, I find it's a problem. And I find that if my BlackBerry is sitting next to me and I'm focusing on work, I actually have to physically restrain myself from paying attention to Twitter at times.
So you have put strategies in place so that you can get other work done.
Absolutely,
Yep.
because at times it's for fun and it's great. And when I'm sitting down and I'm watching TV, I've always been the kind of person who does multiple things at a time. So for me, Twitter works. Whether it's I'm at the computer and I send off a tweet while I'm filling out a document or something, it's fine. And when I was reading, I used to read and do other things at the same time. I used to watch TV and do cross-stitching or knitting and things like that. So for me, having Twitter available, it fills the void when I'm sitting doing other things. I put it down when I'm sitting at the table with my kids. I put it down to play with my kids. I have to force myself to do those things, but it became an addiction. So yes. In my day, when I wake up, I might come on and say hello, and then I have a couple of hours where I work. And being the only person who does pretty much everything for Clippo in any case, other than the manufacturing side, thank goodness I don't have to do it because it would never get done. it has to be regimented into my day because Twitter's become such a part of my life, and Facebooking and being active on social media and talking to the girls on web boards and that kind of stuff. So yes.
And really, talk about community. A lot of small business owners are working from home and they're working alone, and without things like Twitter and Facebook, it can be very, very isolating. So obviously, I mean, preaching to the choir
It
here,
is.
like that.
I
For
found
small
that too, and
business owners,
that's a really
good
interesting
tool.
point in itself. Actually, the isolation of working at home, it's very difficult, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here who know that when you run your own business and you're at home, you are that sole person there. And I sit literally in my house by myself when the kids are maybe at school or with a caregiver, and I'm alone, and I don't have that boss telling me to do anything, and I don't have that pressure where if you don't eat from 12 to 1, that something else isn't going to happen. I answer to myself, so there's nothing else stopping me from goofing off for an entire day, except I wake up the next day with work still there. So it gives me the feedback that I need to when I'm talking about business, because I've sent stuff out and I've said, I can't find a packaging solution, and one was there for me. So
it's absolutely brilliant. You get your research done in one tweet.
Yeah.
Stephanie, what about you? I mean, you're there. You've got a catering company, so you're actually like on your feet, chopping mushrooms that you won't eat, and so how do you fit in your screen time with the actual, like, being so physically busy and it being so physically demanding?
Yeah, I tend not to tweet when I'm in the kitchen, just for sanitary reasons.
Hire her.
Yeah. Every once in a while when I'm making sauces or chutneys or something, I'll tweet little pictures of it just to get your mouths watering. But Twitter has definitely changed my life and sort of has taken over in the last year. My 5-year-old was introducing me to another mom and said, "This is my mommy. She works for Little Mushroom Catering and Twitter." Yeah. Not quite, honey, but yeah. And so it's been one of those things where it's part of Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and all of those other social media things that I'm on. They're part of my daily routine. And so when I get up in the morning, I check my tweets, I check my emails, and then throughout the day, if I'm standing in line at a grocery store, you can bet that I'm on Twitter.
We're all guilty of that in this room.
and we're wrapping up. So.
And
that's all I have to say about
there's
that.
a hat. There was a hat on Monday. There's a hat off Monday. So I think that's it for us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Julie. Thank you. I'm gonna stand over here. The hugs. Oh, the hugs. Awesome job. Thank you. Thank you. That was absolutely wonderful. For all of us small business owners, there was a lot of insights there to learn.